Good evening, everyone, and welcome. First, I want to point out that Vice Chair Simpson and Trustee McEwen are joining us virtually. I would ask Karina, please, to read the land acknowledgement.
As we begin this meeting, we respectfully acknowledge that we are gathered on the ancestral lands and waters of the Algonquin people. We acknowledge their long-standing relationship with this territory, which remains unceded.
Thank you. Father, can you lead some prayer, please?
Yeah. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God of life and of love, we lift our hearts to you in praise and thanksgiving. We bless you for the goodness and beauty of creation, for the rhythm of sunrises and sunsets, for the patterns of color and texture of growing things, and sustain our hope in the abundance of what is to come. We bless you for this landscape of our lives, for our successes, and for the friends we have who weave a mosaic through our horizon. Open us to the abundance of life and love you set before us. Amen. And we remember in our prayers the following persons who have passed away. Dave Nash, principal at Lester B. Pearson High School. John J. Flynn, uncle of Mary Donaghy, associate director, and Mr. Flynn is a former director of the Brant Haldeman Norfolk Catholic District School Board. Walter Chewy, father of Christine Chewy, resource teacher at St. Veronica School. Peter George Alcura, uncle of Marlene Alcura, principal at St. Patrick High School. Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. May they rest in peace. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Please stand for O Canada. Father, you're going to share some information about St. Anne?
Sure. St. Anne is recognized as the mother of the Virgin Mary and grandmother of Jesus Christ. While St. Anne is not mentioned in the Bible, her story is preserved through sacred tradition, which encompasses teachings and practices handing down from the apostles through the successive generations. In the spirit of St. Anne, we witness this beautiful handing down of faith within our own community. Here we see the students of St. Anne's, the proud recipients of Humility and Dignity Awards. St. Anne is often depicted teaching young Mary, highlighting the importance of passing down spiritual values to the next generation. This tradition emphasizes the role of mentorship and guidance in nurturing faith and character. Similarly, in our school communities, we embody this legacy through initiatives where older students support and mentor younger ones. For instance, our grade 6 students assist kindergartens during events like the Valentine Raffle, fostering a culture of care and a seamless transmission of values and traditions. St. Anne's Feast Day, celebrated on July 26th, is marked by various traditions, including special prayers, pilgrimages, and gatherings that emphasize family and the pivotal role of grandparents in imparting faith and values. In many Indigenous communities, St. Anne holds a place of honor as the grandmother of Jesus, reflecting the deep respect for grandmothers as wisdom keepers, healers, and central figures in the transmission of cultural and spiritual knowledge. In our school community, we honor the legacy of faith and the rich tradition of Indigenous cultures by engaging students in activities that connect them to the natural world and ancestral knowledge. Here we see students exploring animal tracks using Indigenous education resources, fostering an appreciation for the environment and the wisdom passed down through generations. St. Anne's legacy encourages us to be a loving presence across generations. Here we see the kindergarten class exploring the Roots of Empathy program, engaging with activities that help them understand and share the feelings of others, thereby nurturing a compassionate and connected community. Let us unite in prayer, seeking St. Anne's intercession for our community. O glorious St. Anne, faithful Mother of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and loving grandmother of our Savior Jesus Christ, we turn to you in our needs and ask for your powerful intercession. Inspired by your example, we strive to foster a community where the light of faith is passed from one generation to the next. Under your patronage, may we continue to build a more compassionate and connected world. St. Anne, pray for us. Amen.
Thank you, Father. We have no delegations. Can I have a mover for the approval of the agenda, please? Trustee Moore and Trustee Coburn. That the agenda of the regular board meeting of February 25th, 2025 be approved as presented. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item E, school student departmental profile, memo from the superintendent of leadership and parent engagement, critical thinking in Indigenous education at St. Michael Corkery. Welcome, Superintendent Sly, Ms. Myers, and Ms. Carlucci. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm excited to be here this evening to share some work that staff and students have been engaging in at St. Michael's Corkery this school year. Principal Stephanie Myers and grade 6 teacher Nina Carlucci are here to share some of the work they've been doing around critical thinking and Indigenous education. These are two important areas of the St. Michael Corkery Student Action Plan, and I know that they're happy to share with you this evening on how their community is moving forward in these two areas and learning. You will also see how this school is creating responsible global citizens who keep their faith at the center of their learning. Ms. Myers and Ms. Carlucci, I will now pass it over to you.
Thank you. Good evening. St. Michael Corkery's approach to Indigenous education emphasizes a multifaceted deep learning experience that integrates various aspects of Indigenous culture, history, and knowledge into the curriculum. The school aim is to open doors and to give witness to Catholic social teaching by developing responsible citizens who help to fulfill the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to actions by incorporating land acknowledgements, cross-curricular learning about Indigenous peoples, and the history of residential schools. The school's dedication to crafting seasonal, personalized land acknowledgements extends beyond a simple reading each morning on the announcements. The whole school participation in creating land acknowledgements has acted as a gateway to cross-curricular education about Indigenous peoples within the context of the Canadian history, encompassing the history and lasting impact of residential schools. As Pope Francis wrote in Laudato Si', we continue to make progress in raising awareness of the urgent environmental challenges that we all face. Having our students focus on these sustainable goals here at St. Michael Corkery answers Pope Francis's call for us to act and protect our common home. These experiences will hopefully transfer to lifelong actions to support environmental issues.
This is where my students and I became deeply involved. As we worked through the land acknowledgements, I found it a perfect place to insert the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. My students and I did a deep dive in all 17 goals and discussed their significance and impact. After much debate, my students voted on which goals they believed were the most important. They chose life on land and life below water, recognizing that all living things, including people, are connected. This learning connected back to the Indigenous peoples of Canada. Together, my students and I discovered the beaded timeline, which is a representation of the life on Turtle Island. This long string of beads represents how long the Indigenous people have lived on this land and their minimal footprint. And then this versus this little shorter line of beads, which is the period of colonization to present day. Each bead on both mark 20 years or one generation, and 5 beads marks 100. As they worked through that, they made the connection to the Inoknagaywen, which is an Indigenous concept that an agreement with Mother Earth, that all living things should find balance and harmony. From here, my students wanted to deepen their understanding of colonization, what it is, what it looked like, how it impacted both Indigenous peoples and the land. To guide this learning, I invited Stephanie Saunders from the Indigenous team to unpack the tool Road to Colonization, which is a color-coded visual timeline that uses artifacts, news articles, Indigenous knowledge, treaties, and laws from time memoriam to present day. The students read and unpacked them and categorized each of these artifacts into either colonization, resistance, governance, or knowledge, and how it shaped history from an Indigenous perspective. To reinforce all of this learning, I brought in a giant floor map of Turtle Island, which provided a physical and hands-on learning environment for all the students from kindergarten to grade 6 of life before and after colonization. The giant floor map helps students understand the history of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit communities across Turtle Island. It shows traditional territories, languages, lands, showing where the different nations lived, moved across the land based on seasons, migration, resources, and trade. The map also shows where reserves, residential schools, and British establishments were created. It is centered around a timeline that also goes through resistance throughout colonization, mirroring the Road to Colonization tool. I paired this for the juniors with a blanket exercise. So all the grade 4s and 6s participated in the Cairo blanket exercise, which is a demonstration on how the history of Indigenous peoples in Canada and how colonization directly impacted them. What students do is they stand on blankets that represent land, and as the exercise moves through history, they're folded up or removed or shrunk, showing the loss of land, rights, and lives over time. It's quite a powerful experience for the students, and it helps them feel the effects of colonization and understand why reconciliation is extremely important today. At this point, my students wondered what they could do to help, which brought us to diving into the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and the TRC's 94 calls to action. As a class, they felt very strongly that the Indigenous peoples of Canada should have rights and sovereignty over their land, water, and resources. Which led us to our activist research project. The students selected either a climate, water, or land-based issue. They paired it with a young Indigenous activist. The goal was to research the activist's work and find ways that my students could contribute to that cause. This project is based on the foundation of deep learning. It is a cross-curricular project which incorporates social studies, science, French, and the 6 Cs, with a focus on critical thinking and citizenship. As an assessment practice, I'm using the critical thinking progressions to assess and gauge their ability to analyze, reflect, and take action. Having come so far in the learning journey, I wanted to just take a minute and kind of go back to where it all began, which was our land acknowledgements. As a school, we wanted to highlight new land acknowledgements per season. To kickstart our thinking on winter land acknowledgements, I invited Kelly and Chantal, our arts consultants, to lead us through a movement-based land acknowledgement. The grade 3s, 4s, and 6s love being able to express all their learning through movement. Their biggest takeaway was understanding that they could create a stronger, more connected community through their actions. To promote more community in the school, I asked Innie, who is a Anishinaabe firekeeper, to spend the day with us outside, sharing his teachings and knowledge on the significance of fire and community in Indigenous cultures. Students from kindergarten to grade 6 spent a session with him outside, learning all about fire making techniques, which wood is best, how to harvest it, how different types of wood have different purposes depending on what you need the fire for, the role of fire in ceremonies and community gatherings. My grade 6s had the privilege of spending the entire afternoon with Innie in our class, learning from him and being able to ask questions. He showed them different animal bones and furs, how they could be used. He introduced different creation stories like the 13 moons, which is on the back of the turtles. This is what they want to move to now. They also introduced feather keeping, feather maintenance, as well as medicine bags, and how to make them, as well as the importance. We ended our day outside using the interactive technology from the art van, which is just outside the board office, learning the Anishinaabe language for different animals in our area. And moving forward, my students will continue to focus on the role as allies to Indigenous peoples and stewards of the environment. They will continue to learn different creation stories, Anishinaabe language, as well as create a green initiative project. As an extension to the activist project, they are to create a green initiative that promotes a cause that they feel strongly about using STEAM and AI tools. As a part of the research, the students will have discussions with AI chatbots, which I've created through School AI. That's a biologist, an Indigenous elder, and a young environmental activist. These conversations will help them explore and develop their ideas from multiple perspectives. Once they have a clear plan, they will use the Think Inc. robotic boxes, which allow them to build, code, and power interactive projects such as wind turbines or self-moving cars. And they will pair that with microbits to power them, which is a small programmable computer processor that controls movement, sensors, and other functions to power those, the models that they've either created or given from the robotic boxes. The goal is to really learn from the past and apply all the knowledge to designing sustainable solutions for the future, reflecting their commitment to environmental stewardship.
Our hope for students at St. Michael Corkery is for them to become lifelong responsible citizens who take action and make a difference in the world around them. Specifically for children who may not have been as fortunate to have been born in the Ottawa area. Climate change has created pollution, impacted living conditions, and dangerous weather patterns, making the lives of many children challenging. Through their actions, our students can have a positive impact on their lives of children around the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Questions or comments? Trustee Moore?
Thank you very much. Hi, Ms. Myers. I do get up to St. Michael Corkery, but usually just in the bus loop. I like the way that you've really planned this project, taking it from the tactile and the visual that the children have their hands on and touching, and now you're moving it into the realm of AI and coding. So that's really cool. How did you develop all of this? It's a big process.
The students decided they kind of led it. I just facilitated and showed them the resources that we have from the school board and just kind of guided them that way, but it's very student-driven.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much for your presentation. Can I get a mover for the presentation? Trustee Warren. Seconder? Trustee Coburn? That the memorandum from the Superintendent of Leadership and Parent Engagement dated February 19, 2025, entitled Critical Thinking in Indigenous Education at St. Michael Corkery be received. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Oh, your turn to vote. Declarations of conflict of interest, there's none. Confirmations of the minutes of the regular board meeting of February 11, 2025. Mover, please. Trustee McEwen or Simpson, there we go. Moved by Trustee Simpson, seconded by Trustee McEwen, that the minutes of the regular board meeting of February 11, 2025 be adopted as presented. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. No unfinished business from previous meetings. Presentations and consideration of committee reports and student trustee reports. Memo from the Director of Education, Parent Involvement Committee, minutes of December 10, 2024.
Those minutes are for receipt, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mover, please. Trustee Moore. Seconder. Trustee Lukatich-Butters. That the memorandum from the Director of Education dated February 20th, 2025, and the report entitled Parent Involvement Committee minutes of December 10th, 2024 be received. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item J, presentation consideration of staff or trustee reports. Item 1, memo from the Superintendent of Student Success Elementary and Superintendent of Student Success Intermediate or Secondary, an update on our virtual schools. Welcome, Superintendent Kelly, Ms. Hicks, Mr. Rosso, Ainsley, and Rianne. Is it Rianne or Ryan? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our virtual schools have been in existence now for a number of years, and the structure of both schools have adapted to needs, and they continue to provide a unique learning mode for particular learners in our school, in our board. We're joined tonight by Allison Hicks, the principal of Blessed Carlo Elementary Virtual, and Michael Razzo, principal of St. Josephine, which is our virtual high school, to provide an update on virtual learning at the schools. And they are accompanied by Ainsley and Ryan, who will provide their experiences at their schools.
Thank you. Good evening. There we go. Through virtual learning, we have the unique opportunity to develop flexible learning models that are tailored to meet the diverse needs of both families and students. We continue to welcome homeschooling families into our HOPE program, providing a personalized learning experience while allowing students to benefit from the support and connection of a community school. Additionally, some students may find value in a personalized schedule through cross-enrollment. This option allows students to engage with 2 schools during the school day, offering a customized blend of learning experiences. Both of these options give families the opportunity to collaborate closely with school teams, ensuring the creation of programs that best support each student's individual learning journey. At Blessed Carlo, fostering a sense of community is a core focus. We create meaningful student and staff connections through engaging activities like Choose Your Own Adventure Days, where students join cross-grade events led by teachers, including things like music play, scavenger hunt, arts, or fitness. These activities bring students together in a fun and creative way. We also build school spirit through themed spirit weeks, which are a highlight for our students. Theme days like Color Day or Pajama Day foster excitement and camaraderie. In addition, we offer a variety of engaging clubs. We have something for everyone, from creative spaces like Minecraft and Lego Club and Art Club to problem solving in our Math Club. These clubs help students build connections with peers who share similar passions. This year, we also introduced in-person events based on feedback from students and parents. In September, we had a picnic to welcome our families back. Through these initiatives, we continue to strengthen our virtual school community as we strive to have each student feel connected, engaged, and supported.
So in addition to academics, there are also some clubs that are running again this year, and they're highlighted on the slideshow. We've got our BSA Students Association and various other clubs. Students connect via Google Meets under teacher supervision and share ideas and collaborate. As well, we also host some in-person events. There are some academic in-person expectations that students are required to attend, and this includes the OSSLT, which starts in grade 10, is the first year for students eligible to write, and then our grade 9 math EQAO, which again is mandated by our ministry to be written as an in-person requirement. We also have a graduation mass that has been well attended over the past few years. We work with St. Augustine's Parish and host that at the end of May. We have our graduation ceremony at the end of June, which is at St. Paul's High School. And I always like to give a shout out to St. Paul's for welcoming us every year. And one of our big social nights is our Oscars, which usually happens end of May, beginning of June, and it's similar to what happens in an in-person school. Students get nominated for various awards, and we have a bit of a social, and it's generally very well attended. In addition, something I didn't highlight there, we also have students participating in the Student Senate, and students also attend our central BSA meetings. So in this slide, I just wanted to highlight that there is critical thinking and deep learning taking place at St. Josephine. This year, our focus is on critical thinking. We recognize students each month who are able to demonstrate critical thinking skills in their class.
The exciting part you've been waiting for. So it is my pleasure to introduce Ainsley, a grade 7 student who's been part of our school community since grade 4. Ainsley and her 2 siblings attend Blessed Carlo. She has a passion for Minecraft, coding, and reading, and outside of school, she stays active with soccer and karate. She's also an enthusiastic member of several Blessed Carlo clubs. Ainsley's family is deeply involved in our school community, with her mom serving on our school council. Today, Ainsley's here to share her perspective on virtual schooling, what she enjoys about it, and the value it brings to her family. Please join me in welcoming Ainsley.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me here tonight. I really enjoy attending virtual school, and I'm going to share with you some reasons why. Number 1, technological literacy, which is a huge benefit in today's digital world. We use a wide range of applications to engage in learning in new ways. Number 2, extracurricular activities. Blessed Carlo offers lots of different clubs. I'm in Math Club, Social Entrepreneurs Club, and Girls Who Game, where I participated in the esports event last year with Microsoft and Dell and won first place for OCSB. Participating in Girls Who Game with Blessed Carlo has given me the opportunity to present coding in Minecraft to other young girls across Canada. Number 3, it's a calmer environment. At my old school, the classes were so large and loud that it was hard to focus. In virtual, I find it easier to listen and learn. We even have break rooms, which allow us to work on our own or with a partner. Number 4, asynchronous. It's the last period of the day and you are able to work independently or join the async meet with whichever teacher you have worked with. You are able to ask questions and work on a certain task with that teacher. Number 5, weather does not affect us. No snow days or making up work for virtual kids. Number 6, I like being in school with kids not just in my neighborhood. I now have friends across Ottawa and in different cities. Number 7, no travel time. I'm able to have more sleep in the morning, which helps me focus. It also allows me to sign up for non-school related activities in earlier time slots, since I don't have to wait for a bus to get home. Number 8, fun hands-on learning activities that we couldn't do easily at a physical school. One year, after learning fractions, we had a baking session where we practiced halving a recipe. This resulted in delicious cookies. We also made ice cream in a bag for science class to see how the ice and salt would react. Finally, virtual school allows for us to have guest presenters from across the country. We were lucky enough to have multiple Indigenous speakers from various regions of Canada who taught us about their cultures, art, and music. That sums up my presentation for today. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ainsley. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Ryan Brisson. This is Ryan's first year at St. Josephine, and she's currently in grade 10. Ryan likes to bake and read in her spare time.
Thank you for having me tonight. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. So when I was 13, I was diagnosed with dyscalculia, which if you don't know what that means, it's basically my brain processes numbers differently and I have a harder time in math. At Holy Trinity, in spite of all the wonderful resource teachers' help, I struggled to be able to have success in math. The noise, the visual stimulation, and amongst other things, it made it a challenge. I ended up finishing that class with a 55%. This year, I have the freedom to control distractions and focus more clearly on my lessons. I finished this last semester with a 95 and have more confidence in math. St. Josephine has allowed me to focus on the parts of me that need attention and have given me more confidence in my abilities. I'd also like to say thank you to my wonderful teachers this year. They've been great with me and have welcomed me with open arms and has made this one a really easy move. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. The group is happy to answer any questions if you've got some.
Thank you. Both of you had great presentations. Trustee Warren, then Trustee Moore.
Thanks, through you, Mr. Chair. Great presentation from both of you on this. Ryan, I'm curious to hear what your feeling is from being in person to being virtual. Like, is there aspects of it that you miss? It's great to hear that, you know, it helps with different situations, because I imagine, you know, it's not for everyone. But there must be aspects I assume you probably miss that's from the in person.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think that I've actually made more friends in online school. I think that I find people who are more like me, who have similar interests with me, and kind of understand how I think, because we kind of think the same way. I mean, there was a lot of people at my old school, but I think kind of cutting that out has made me an overall better person.
That's great to hear that, thanks.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Girls, wonderful presentations, really enjoyed them. I scribbled just a couple notes that came up from both yours was focus. And it's so very different from my own perspective. After spending a couple of years online doing different things, I had to knit, or I was one of those people that would wander away. How do you, focus seems to be better for you at the online school, and could you try and describe a little bit of what you mean by that?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So my class in person had about 42 kids, so it was very loud. And that's why I found it hard to focus, because it was just constant noise, whereas in virtual, if I want to be alone in a break room, I can, and it's more quiet because everyone is muted and they're not just talking. So yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think that being by myself really helps me focus because I can be quiet and I can be with my own thoughts. And my teachers are always able to help me in a breakout room, like Ainsley said. I think that honestly, being in a quieter environment and somewhere I'm comfortable helps me focus quite a bit more.
Very unserious question now, ladies. Room rating, getting your rooms ready to go online. Do you spend more time? Do you have cleaner rooms now than you did when you were in person at school?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think I have my little station, my desk, and I think I just have to keep that organized, but I have a spot to go.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I definitely keep one spot clean. I have definitely two main spots, like a desk in my room and then downstairs where I do school. So I mainly keep those clean. Don't ask me about the rest of my room. I'm sorry, but yeah.
But the part that's visible is spotless, right?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I keep it organized and clean. The background, yeah.
Trustee Lukatich Barson.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. So just interested in enrollment numbers, so kind of what trends we're seeing with that. And then maybe just for Ainsley and Ryan, you both present fantastically and answer questions well, and it can be intimidating when, you know, there's a room full of people. I'm just wondering, do you sometimes, and it's kind of, I guess Trustee Warren has already touched on that a little bit, that social aspect, because school, yes, it's about learning, but it's also about friends and, you know, getting along with people and dealing with, you know, maybe some people you might not like as much, and maybe dealing in situations like you mentioned where it's loud. You know, I'm just wondering because, you know, in life, you might work in an environment where it's loud. So it's kind of like, you know, how do I manage to concentrate in that kind of atmosphere? Do you feel that maybe you might be missing out on kind of that aspect of kind of building a bit of resilience in those instances? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I honestly would say that being online, I've gained more confidence because I'm participating more. I'm just more comfortable, as I said before, but I'm participating and I'm getting to know people way better than I ever did in my other classes. And I think that's helped me get a lot of confidence because if I'm honest, I probably wouldn't have agreed to come to a big boardroom and present in front of all these people last year.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, Ryan had a really good point. It's definitely gave me more confidence. And there's still like a bit of noise, but not as much, which is better. It's a better situation. Of course, we have like open class discussions. Those can get a bit loud, but it's definitely better than in person. And I don't think that louder would help me more. Like, I don't think it would help me build resilience against loudness. I'm trying to word this here. So I think virtual still has those loud moments. So it can still give you resilience, but you may build it over a longer period of time.
And through you, Mr. Chair, just to address the question about numbers, certainly as with all of our schools, we monitor the projections at our both virtual schools, and that's led us to work on the structure, going at elementary now from grade 1 to grade 8 and looking at the high school 9 to 12. We'll continue to do that, but certainly we made a commitment to move forward again next year. Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, I don't have our numbers in front of me, but I can certainly bring those back.
Trustee Simpson.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. I am a huge fan, as you know, of virtual learning because it's the epitome of personalized programming for students. And it gives me so much encouragement to find out that we have cross enrollment and that we have, you know, the sky is the limit. The idea is to personalize the program to the point that students can be successful. So I'm delighted to hear from you, Ainsley and Ryan, that you're enjoying it so much. And of course, as we know, virtual learning isn't for everyone, but for some students, it is great, as it seems to be for both of you. So I just have a couple of questions. Ainsley, I heard you talk about technical literacy, that you feel that it's certainly given you a leg up on technical literacy. Could you maybe expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so like I said, we use a lot of applications for every subject. So we use multiple different applications for the same subject. Like for math, I use Pear Deck, which is basically it makes slide decks interactive. And I feel that helps me to enhance my learning in that subject and to really get a better understanding of it.
Thank you. And Rylan, it spoke to me that you were having challenges in math and you felt that you've now built more confidence because you have more personalized attention to the areas where you were having challenges. If I was a student that had similar challenges as you did in math or language arts, and I was asking you, why should I come to a virtual school? What would you tell me?
I think I would say that I would tell you that the teachers it's easier to get help because it's more one-on-one. You can go into a breakout room, whereas I think in an actual in-person classroom, it is harder because there's so much going on.
Okay, thank you. Both of you have really done a great job in presenting the advantages of being in virtual learning. And as always, I really look forward to going to St. Josephine's graduation in June because it's a highlight of my year. So thank you for both coming.
Thank you very much, ladies, for your presentation. Was it that scary? We're not a bad bunch of people here. And if you're not busy, second and fourth Tuesday of the month, except for next month, because it's March break, you can drop by and see us. You can tune in and watch the game. Almost. Caught myself. And watch the meetings virtually. I've got a little present for you if you want to come up and we'll get a picture taken with your teachers. But first, I'm just going to ask for a move and we're seconder for the motion, please. Trustee Coburn and Trustee Lukatich-Bars. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 2 is the memo from the Superintendent of Planning Facilities, Community Planning and Facility Partnerships for the 2024-2025 review. Welcome, Superintendent Valla and Mr. Baxter.
Thank you and good evening, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to bring forward our annual report on our community and community planning report as required under the ministry. I'm joined here with our manager Ian Baxter, who will go through our current process and what's available currently in our inventory with vacant facilities. So, Mr. Baxter, is with you.
Thank you, Superintendent Valla, and good evening, everyone. Through you, Mr. Chair, trustees have in front of them a memo updating them on last year's Community Planning and Facility Partnership meeting and providing information regarding this year's review. The review is part of an annual process that is designed to improve the level of information shared between public bodies who may have an interest in leasing space in our schools or partnering on planned new build projects. We are required to review available space in existing schools, consider partnerships when developing capital plans and undertaking new school construction, and hold a public meeting to share that information with a listed group of public agencies. These requirements are laid out in provincial guidelines that were put in place in 2015 and also within our board policy. So in general, annual CPP public meetings have been held jointly by the planning departments of the 4 local area school boards since 2016. The 2023-2024 public meeting was held virtually by the Conseil des Écoles Catholiques de Centre-Est in May of last year. 3 representatives from the City of Ottawa attended the meeting, and there was 1 member of the public. The list of agencies that are circulated through the process include coterminous school boards, the City of Ottawa, local universities and colleges, the local health integration network, and also local Indigenous groups. We are required to identify schools that, for the past 2 years or more, have been operating at less than a 60% utilization rate and contain more than 200 surplus pupil places. For this year's process, we intend to include 3 day operating schools on the list. Both St. Anthony Elementary School in Little Italy and St. George Elementary School in the Champlain Park neighborhood meet the criteria and will be included as potential locations for partnerships. We will also include St. Thomas More Elementary School in the Hunt Club area. Although the school has only met the criteria for a single year, that's the current school year, we know that space at the school will be available for a number of years until students begin to be generated from the planned future Taywin lands development. It should be noted that under board policy, prospective partners must make expressions of interest in writing to the Director of Education. They must also demonstrate how the partnership would be beneficial to the school community. Any expressions of interest would be reviewed and evaluated for compatibility with criteria contained in our policy and with the nature of the school's operational characteristics. Approval of any partnership is solely within the board's discretion. The list of future new school opportunities include projects that were identified in the board's recently approved 2024 capital plan. These have been updated to reflect current status, planned, identified as a capital priority of the board, or funded and currently under construction. Partnerships in this context are for groups who would lease exclusive space in a school during day operating hours. This type of arrangement is different than space that is permitted through our community use of schools group or property that is declared surplus to future needs and sold through the disposition process. The 2024 annual public meeting will once again be a joint meeting with our 3 coterminous school boards, likely held in late May or early June. This year, planning and facility staff at the OCSB will coordinate and host the meeting in a virtual environment. Meeting details will be posted to the board website once a date has been confirmed. And although trustees are welcome to attend the meeting, they are not required to do so. I think I'll leave things there, and staff are here tonight to answer any questions the trustees may have.
Thank you, gentlemen. Questions, comments? Trustee Warren.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I was doing pretty good to your presentation. Now I got a question. First of all, thank you very much for not putting St. Gabriel's on the list. They apparently are a building out there now. So fingers crossed we get students. I guess my question is for a school like St. Anthony's, because there may not be another school that wants to go in at the same time or a different program at the same time as St. Anthony's is open during the day. But that doesn't mean the building's not being used through community use of schools, language schools, in summer programs and things. Is that true? It's not just an empty building?
Through you, Mr. Chair, and in response to the trustee question, so when we're evaluating the amount of surplus, the term surplus pupil places that are within each of our school buildings, we take into account those, whether it's childcare, other uses, et cetera. We sort of take all of that into account in the calculation.
Trustee Coburn.
Thank you. Following up on Trustee Moore's question with regards to St. Anthony, yeah, it surprises me. There's only 100 students there. So is there anybody using it other than us during the day currently?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yeah, there's an active childcare program at the school that takes up quite a bit of space. There are likely other uses as well. But I should point out that with St. Anthony specifically, it was probably about 5 to 7 years ago when there, along that Rochester sort of corridor, the Somerset corridor, there were a number of subsidized housing units that were demolished. Those have been rebuilt. A number of them have been rebuilt. Some are still continuing to be rebuilt. And so the timing of sort of the decline in enrollment at the school coincides with that. And we expect that over the next 5 years or so, a gradual increase in enrollment at the school. There are also a significant number of high-density apartment buildings that are planned for the area that we're hoping will turn things around and generate enrollment.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. A mover, please. Trustee Warren. Seconder, Trustee Simpson. The memorandum from the Superintendent of Planning and Facilities dated February 19, 2025, entitled Community Planning and Facility Partnerships 2024-2025 Review be received. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 3, memo from the Associate Director of Education, Student Achievement Plan Update. Welcome, Associate Director Downey, and Ms. Shaver, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my pleasure this evening to bring you a specific SAP. As you know, I bring to the Board of Trustees through numerous meetings updates on our Student Achievement Plan process. And so today we have Kathleen Shaver, the principal of Prince of Peace School, and she's going to discuss with you and share with you the process she uses to develop her SAP, as well as a live SAP in one of our elementary schools. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Kathleen.
Good evening. Thank you for having me this evening to speak about the very important work of the School Achievement Plan. I am very proud of the work Prince of Peace has done in moving teaching practice and student learning forward over the 3 years that I have been there. We do this work knowing that good practice impacts student achievement, and this work is done by very dedicated and engaged staff, and I am thankful to be here to speak on their behalf. So each year we are presented by our Student Success Department with a template similar to the one that you see. Each square here indicates that these are our priority areas of focus and we need to have at least one goal per area. The Prince of Peace and every school on the board has chosen the global competency of critical thinking, and that work is woven through our academic goals and non-academic goals as well. As you can see, we must have goals for Indigenous education, a goal related to our spiritual theme, goals for equity and diversity, and wellness and community. I'll be speaking to you tonight specifically about our Be Innovative goals surrounding numeracy and literacy, but of course, if you have any questions about other goals, I'm happy to answer them as well. So where do we begin? At the beginning of the year, I look at where we are at that time. I take stock of my current teaching staff, their strengths and areas of growth, and I establish some pedagogical priorities this way. Do we need to work on math instruction? Do we need to create a balanced literacy block? How can I move teaching practice forward in the way that I design this plan? I then look at our deep learning commitments for the year, and this year we already knew the focus would be on critical thinking. We also look at our community needs, trends, and demographics. When creating goals related to academics, I look at achievement data, which I will speak to more in the next few slides. We're also provided with ministry-mandated goals that we must attend to related to things like attendance, achievement scores, suspension rates, and these differ from school to school. In the beginning of the year, I present data stories to our educators for their input during staff meetings and PD days. I also have a SAP development team that I meet with in the beginning of the year for their ideas and input. It's really important for me to ensure that staff are involved in a regular and ongoing basis so they see themselves in the work. So what did the data tell us this year? Looking at our achievement data from EQAO results, as well as report card data, I started to build an understanding of where we were. This method doesn't track cohorts of students over time, that is to say the same group of kids over years. I can look at that with the help of our research officer and through the various programs that I use, but due to our rapidly changing population in our area, we're not always looking at the same kids over time. But by looking at grade 3 and 6 years, which are the years they take EQAO, I have a more fulsome data picture that I can use to track trends. For our non-academic goals, it's important to know that Prince of Peace is in the same PATS community, which serves an economically challenged area. There's a significant amount of subsidized and low-income housing, which houses new Canadians, families who have been struggling with poverty for generations, and we are aware of a significant amount of trauma that has impacted families in our area as well. Many new Canadians are multilingual learners who have little to no French or English language skills, and COVID has had an impact on student performance in many ways, and it's also impacted the validity of our data. We're committed to creating a welcoming environment at Prince of Peace, so having goals related to understanding how trauma impacts the brain, how practicing anti-racism impacts a diverse community, and working intentionally on the goals of truth and reconciliation and having mental health and wellness goals are all meaningful and have a huge impact on the culture and tone of our school. So I want to call your attention to the support site link that you see at the top of many of the slides. It links administrators to a well-developed resource created by our Student Success Department that helps us develop language, choose data measures, and strategies that one could use in their SAP development. Many of my colleagues found this very helpful. Our current literacy goal is based on the data that you see here. Looking at the reading and writing scores from the last 2 years, we noticed an improvement in scores in grade 3 over time and a drop in grade 6 achievement. Using the goals provided to us by the ministry and the support site that our board created for us, we decided to focus on improving fluency, as fluency has been shown to have a marked impact on comprehension, which is one of the reasons we think it's important. So let's talk strategies. How do we do the work? Our teachers have engaged in rich professional development, teaching them how to use tools such as Acadience and Dibbles, which are both screening tools for literacy, and they've also been taught how to use programs like Heggerty, Flyleaf, and UFly, which are teaching tools that help us develop early literacy skills. We work with literacy learning partners who come in and offer PD on these tools, help with screeners, and ensure that we are using these resources properly. We often do things called lunch and learns, which are short PD sessions done over the lunch break where we provide food and teachers come and learn. We also offer Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions, which are supports we can offer over and above what's done in the regular classroom. Students who are identified as at risk based on screening data are given small group literacy support using a variety of reading programs such as Lexia, UFly for primary, and Empower for grade 4 and 6. They're closely monitored by my resource teachers and literacy support teachers. We test them at least 3 times a year, and some of them are even given mini assessments every 2 weeks on specific skills to see if our approach is working. Some students who require more support than this may be referred to psychologist or speech-language pathologist to see if more intervention is required. So moving on to mathematics. Our math data from EQAO and report card data show some improvement at the grade 3 level and little movement at the grade 6 level. The scores are quite low regardless, which means we are identified by the province as a MAP school, which stands for Math Achievement Action Plan. Because of this, we're supported by a math partner who comes in weekly to work with teachers in diagnostic and assessment work and to support teaching strategies. Speaking of strategies, how do we do this work for numeracy? So we engage in ongoing professional learning, which is important to move teaching practice along. And one of the things we do which has helped give us time to work on our practice is our buddy block and our PLC work. So PLC stands for Professional Learning Community, and we make it happen through what we call buddy blocks. So twice a month, our students work on STEAM activities in junior and primary pairings, and this frees up half of the staff to meet together. I use Code 80 days, which are professional learning supply days, to book supply teachers to ensure we have enough help on hand. So half of the teachers are working with the kids on some sort of a task, and then the other half are meeting. While we meet, they're given a protocol or a template to follow, and they're asked to bring student work to the table to analyze and critique. This helps us move our practice forward to determine if we're seeing the results we want to see, to make adjustments if we are not. We do this in collaboration because, like the children, this is one of the best ways to learn. We also ensure that teaching practice draws on high-impact instructional strategies, and you can see that highlighted at the bottom there. Those are specific ways in which we design our lessons to ensure students are learning and being taught in evidence-informed ways. For example, problem solving and direct instruction are both shown to have strong impacts on student achievement, and both should be present in the classroom. You can see other examples on your screen. Another thing that's important for student success is to ensure that parents and families are involved in their learning. We have had family math events for the last 2 years, and we'll be having another this year. This lets parents ask questions about how their children are learning and engages them in doing math as well. They're better able to support students at home this way, and this has created an opportunity for us to welcome families into our building, which is always great fun. As I mentioned previously, by creating rich classroom environments where lots of teaching methods are used and lots of representations of understanding are encouraged, we create thinking classrooms where processes are just as important as the product, and students are engaged in the learning process in meaningful ways. Of course, all this depends on strong planning and the use of approved resources to teach. It's important to ensure we're using data from diagnostic assessments, classroom assessments, and observations, and that there are multiple modes of teaching and assessment happening in the classroom. It's also vitally important to ensure that many ways of knowing and learning are encouraged. We draw on Indigenous teachings and other cultural practices in our community to learn about how students learn best, and try to ensure these show up in our day-to-day practice. Also, it's important for our students to know what we're up to. We communicate with our learners what our priorities are and why these are relevant to them. This looks different in each classroom, but all of our students know that we're working on critical thinking, that literacy is an important part of the day, and that math is something that everyone can be good at. Our success is tracked with our PLC work, anecdotal evidence collected from these conversations, and regular diagnostic tools. Next year, our updated EQAO scores and report card data will give us more clarity to see if our approaches have had an impact. I will close by saying that this year's SAP is not new information for my staff. We've been building on this work year over year, and we will continue to do so next year. Some goals will be carried forward, adjusted, and modified, and we may need new ones based on new information. The work of the School Achievement Plan is ongoing, and there should be a through line year after year in order for lasting changes to occur. This is year 3 for me, and it's been a pleasure to see our staff moving forward with this work and supporting students in such meaningful ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. So as you can see, this is a very concrete example of a SAP at a particular school, in this case, Kathleen's School Prince of Peace. Each of our elementary schools would have their own unique SAP. And Kathleen referenced the Elementary Student Success Department, our Student Success Departments, and I should have mentioned that obviously for elementary, that's the work of Shelley Montgomery and her team. So many of the positions that Kathleen spoke about, the math people that come in and support will be in Shelley's department. Those great links, the support site were all developed. So thank you to Shelley and her department. And at this time, Mr. Chair, Kathleen or myself would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathleen, for your very informative presentation. Trustee Moore.
Thank you very much to you, Mr. Chair. Slide 8, that's the one with your math results. So it's grade 3 and grade 6, and I know EQIO is a snapshot, it's a moment in time, and that's all it is a picture of that day. And the report card is 10 to 14 weeks of work with that child that you're seeing. So how do you, when you're planning your process forward, take those, they're two separate really kinds of data, and try and work with those?
Well, I think it's important for us to look at them first of all and see if they match or if there's a discrepancy. If there's a discrepancy, we're looking at if we are preparing our students for EQA properly. And we're also looking to see if our teaching practice is reflective of what they're going to experience in EQAO, but it's also a high impact instructional practice. So it's also important to do what we call calibration, which is making sure that teachers are all assessing and marking the same way and using the same tools so that there's as little discrepancy as possible in what we're seeing on report cards. We do that as part of our PLC work, and they do that, our math teachers get to do that with our math learning partner as well. So I think it's important to just make sure that our assessment practices are as streamlined as possible. And that we are talking about that and working on that, and that every teacher in the building, not just the grade 3 and 6 teachers, but every teacher knows that they are all responsible for our EQAO results, and it's not just something that happens in those specific years.
Trustee Comer.
Thank you. I don't have a question, but it's similar to the chair's comment. I just found this very, very informative to actually see a detailed SAP. I'm assuming they're all as detailed and as comprehensive as this throughout the system. But anyway, I just found it very informative to go through this, and the granularity with the numbers, and then the I guess the ways that you're trying to address some of those things I found very, very informative. So thank you.
Trustee Simpson.
I too want to echo the superior job you've done in your school improvement plan. It's very impressive and very focused, so we really know where you're headed, and it's a great document so that your whole community is moving in the same direction. I'm also very pleased to see that you use Buddy Days. It was a favorite tool of mine, and I think that teachers really appreciate the opportunity to get together and to mark things together and see that they're all on the same page. So that's wonderful. My question is, you have excellent programs for Tier 2 and 3 students, things like Empower and Flyleaf that you're working towards improving their literacy. Do we have something similar for math? And what do we do with level, Tier 2 and Tier 3 children that are really struggling to understand math concepts?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So we don't have as many established programs that have been provided to us necessarily by the board. However, we do have, we do have a few actually. We have one called Math Up that is a really great teaching support, and it has a lot of great assessment tools that you can use for a variety of things. So you can just use them as regular classroom work, or you can parse some of them out and use them as diagnostics. So we have done some of that, and we've done that calibration work as a staff. And some of those instructional pieces can be used in small group remedial work. And we have, a lot of sort of AI tools and things like that that are super engaging for students to use in small group work. What's important is that we make the time to do that. And principals can be sort of creative in their scheduling, and if they're able to carve out some remedial time. So in some of my teachers' prep time, I have them do small group work with students that we've identified as being at risk in math as well. And they do, some students will come out 2 or 3 times a week for half an hour of math remedial work, and they're using a lot of those programs and then their own teaching design as well to make sure that we catch some of those students as well.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions or comments? Thank you very much, Kathleen, for your presentation. Can I have a mover, please, for the presentation, or for the motion? Trustee Moore. I'm trying to see Teach Bars. The memorandum from the Associate Director of Education dated February 19, 2025, and entitled Student Achievement Plan Update be received. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Memo from the Superintendent, Student Success Elementary and Superintendent, Student Success Intermediate Secondary. Update on the French as a second language FSL initiatives at the OCSB. Welcome, Superintendent Montgomery.
Thank you.
I don't have these fine ladies' names. Can you introduce them, please?
Oh, yes, I will. In my opening here, I will for sure. So, good evening. So, as you can see, Superintendent Kelly and myself have divided and conquered this evening. He presented on behalf of both student success departments with regards to the virtual schools, and I am supporting the French presentation on behalf of both departments. Often we present about French at the OCSB. When we present, we speak about the national challenge of French teacher shortages and recruitment. But what we often do not get to highlight, because this always clouds over our French programming, is the actual amazing pedagogy, support, and initiatives that are happening from K-12 across the system in French. Tonight, we would like to celebrate this work, and I'm pleased to be here with Sophie Bone, Coordinator of Elementary Student Success, right here, and Amy Vanberbrandt, FSL Grades 7 to 12 Consultant. So I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you. So good evening. Bonsoir, Mr. Chairperson, trustees, and superintendent.
Tonight, we are pleased to share an update on the French language projects and initiatives at the Ottawa Catholic School Board. We'll highlight how the various grants we've received have contributed to building capacity amongst our French teaching staff, as well as fostering greater confidence and proficiency in French language speaking skills amongst our students.
In 2024-2025, we introduced Core French for grades 4 to 6 to align with our grades 7 to 12 programs. Sorry, I skipped a line. A slide, sorry about that. Okay, so per the Ontario curriculum, Core French is mandatory for grades 4 to 8, with students required to receive instructions each year and accumulate at least 600 hours by grade 8. The program must continue uninterrupted once started. To meet this, we provided resources to every school and grade, developed a scope and sequence, and included action-oriented tasks to strengthen oral communication. This ensures consistent resources, supports teacher with long-term plans, and offer model lessons and co-teaching opportunities.
Our primary source of funding comes from the French as a Second Language Ministry Grant, which is allocated into 4 key areas: support for educational staff, board-developed initiatives, enriched learning experiences, and the grade 12 French exam known as DELF, Diplôme d'études en langue française. With this grant, we were able to hire an additional French learning partner to support teachers from kindergarten through grade 12. As a team of consultants and learning partners, we visited every new French teacher this year across the school board, providing personalized coaching, mentoring, and training on available resources and classroom platforms. This funding has also expanded our DELF capacity, and we are excited to announce that in the fall alone, 246 students successfully completed the exam with an impressive 93% success rate. Additionally, we've been able to offer enriched cultural experiences for our students, including funded cultural trips to areas in Quebec, performances at their school and at local theaters, and a French public speaking contest. We also used these funds to acquire a new online learning platform in 2024 called Smash Education. Smash Education empowers teachers with a comprehensive language curriculum and an all-in-one language platform designed to help every student achieve fluency at his or her own pace. With Smash, both teachers and students benefit from professionally designed, well-balanced lesson plans, a wide range of pedagogical games, and detailed reports on student performance and progress. Currently at the OCSB, we have over 435 educators using this platform, with more than 10,000 students enrolled and using it daily. One key advantage of the platform is that lessons can be delivered by supply teachers when French teachers are absent. Parents also appreciate having a tool that allows their children to improve in all 4 areas of the curriculum at their own pace.
The Ontario Public School Boards Association is a group that supports and enhances English public education in Ontario. Since 1988, they have advocated for policies and practices that have led to Ontario's public education system becoming a world-renowned leader in well-being and student achievement. The first grant OPSPA provided was a recruitment and retention grant that enabled us to establish a working group focused on addressing the ongoing challenges related to recruitment and retention. Collaboration among FSL educators, strong leadership modeling, access to quality resources and professional learning, and mentoring relationship are all essential for fostering a positive school climate and supporting effective French language instruction. In response to these insights, we have developed a framework to provide targeted support for new teachers in the new teacher induction program, as well as for the Queen's FSL multi-session candidates. And additionally, we have worked with continuing education to provide some English language courses for our Francophone teachers. The Ontario Public School Board Association also awarded us a grant for experiential learning, which we used to purchase 20 Lego Spike Prime kits aimed at promoting science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in French classrooms. We partnered with Virtual Ventures and engineering students at Carleton University to train staff on how to effectively implement these resources in FSL classrooms for grades 6 to 9. We have implemented in a learning library and have had the pleasure of working with 2 secondary schools and 6 elementary schools to date.
Through an additional grant from Camarines, which is associated with York University, we established a working group to identify and compile culturally responsive texts for our FSL classrooms. The funds were used to purchase new books for all secondary schools. Our journey began in the fall of 2021 with a focus on sourcing novels featuring racialized and Indigenous main characters. Our work includes facilitating professional development for FSL teachers on anti-racist, anti-oppressive, and anti-colonial pedagogy within the French as a second language context. The search for culturally relevant and responsive texts remains a key priority, and we are grateful to teachers who have contributed to this project and have been open to providing new learning experiences to their students, and also having students be reflected in the books that they're reading in their French classes. Another significant source of grant funding comes from the Regional Common European Framework for Reference of Languages, short form CEFR. Ontario is divided into 4 CEFR regions, with the Ottawa Catholic School Board serving as the lead for the Eastern region. As the managing board for the CFR Eastern region, we are responsible for equitably distributing grant funds across 13 school boards in the region. This year, our focus was on 2 major areas of staff development: DELF corrector training and training on the neuro-linguistic approach to language instruction. DELF training and testing have a profound impact on FSL teaching. Much like we saw with the previous presentation, we can have calibrated marking and moderated marking that results so that all teachers are on the same page when they're assessing student work. Also, thanks to this grant, we were able to have all 13 school boards participate in the DELF training, which is very helpful for smaller boards which may not have the financial capacity to offer the training in their regions. The grant funds were also used to develop a writing project which focused on writing summative tasks based on the action-oriented approach, which is an approach where students engage in real-life scenarios. What would they actually use in the real world in French?
These scenarios have actually now been shared internationally, so we're really proud that this work by our regional group has now been recognized on an international scale.
A new funding opportunity for this year came through Immerse Art, an organization dedicated to bringing Francophone arts, culture, and heritage into our schools. Immerse Art provided a $1,500 microgrant to all schools that have applied. This program supports activities in French immersion schools by partnering with local artists and cultural organizations. Its goal is to create new and enriching experiences for students, immersing them in French through artistic, cultural, and heritage-based activities.
And finally, in collaboration with parent organizations, including the Ottawa Catholic Parents Association, CSPA, and Canadian Parents for French, we hosted a Café Français Parent Night to explain FSL programs and pathways that are unique to the Ottawa Catholic School Board and to address parents' questions. To host this evening, we received a grant from Canadian Parents for French, and we also work very closely with this association to offer tutoring programs to our students in elementary and secondary schools in FSL. We appreciate your attention and support of our French community at the Ottawa Catholic School Board. Thank you very much, and through you, Mr. Chair, questions are welcomed.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Trustee Warren.
Thanks, through you, Mr. Chair. Great presentation. It's nice to see that we're definitely going in the right direction with French in our education system. Can you speak more about the DELF and the advantages of DELF? I know last year my daughter, she got DELF certified, but I don't know what that means, and I'm not even sure she knows what that means, but maybe you can give a little more how that helps them in the future and stuff like that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, absolutely. So the DELF is, first off, an internationally recognized certificate. So it is something that's recognized by educational institutions and employment companies across the world. I know that, for example, McGill University now is requiring a DELF certificate for students wishing to study at their institutions. So that would be one benefit locally. But more than that, the preparation that goes into preparing for the DELF exam is actually where the biggest benefit lies, because the student has to develop real life skills, and because it's valid for life, it actually shows that they're able to converse, read, write, and understand orally at a certain level. So there are 4 different levels that we offer in Ontario, and so those levels are A1, A2, B1, and B2, B2 being the most advanced. And instead of it being a mark on a report card that would reflect sometimes even maybe how much effort you put in and how much additional work you've done, it's a true assessment of your competency in each of those 4 areas. So you do get a mark on each of those 4 areas. So it's a nice way to show that you actually achieved something that's recognized internationally as being someone able to speak, read, write, and understand the language at a certain level.
Thanks. Just a follow-up on that. So when you say international, though, is it recognized by the governments or different organizations, and it's the same across the board, no matter where you are?
Through you, Mr. Chair, not at this time is it recognized by the federal government of Ontario. However, the skills that are required to obtain the DELF are easily transferable to the same A, B, and C levels that you see at the government. So you would see a lot of overlap. So when you would develop that skill set of obtaining a B1, you would be functionally bilingual, and you would very likely also pass the government test to achieve the BBB designation if you're familiar with those government levels. So no, it's not yet officially recognized by our federal government, but those skills are transferable.
Trustee Moore?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. In the Common European Framework of Reference, you mentioned that you studied the DELF, so everybody's marking it the same over the 13 regions. But what is neuro-linguistic approach? What is that? Because I still remember having to learn my verbs.
Through you, Mr. Chair. This is an excellent question. So basically, the research has shown that when students are acquiring an additional language, even when they're acquiring a first language. Of course, we've seen that when children are learning a language, the focus needs to be on oral communication to begin with. So we begin by speaking to young children. We should also begin by speaking to beginner students who are learning an additional language. So actually introducing verbs at that very early outset in any kind of explicit manner can be very discouraging, because if we're putting the focus on something that doesn't really help them in real life at that time, may actually discourage them from continuing their studies. So the neurolinguistic approach takes the idea that if our brain can first understand something and develop an implicit memory of that concept, we'll then be able to use it more naturally. And if we start by learning content and trying to memorize verbs and memorize vocabulary and all of that out of context, we won't actually be able to recall that. We'll be able to conjugate verbs when we're asked to conjugate verbs, but when we go to Tim Hortons and we want to order a coffee, we're going to have to go through all of the, let's say, pronouns, je, no, tu, no, il, no, and then it's not natural. So the neurolinguistic approach is to basically have students using and reusing natural sentences that they would use in real life, and only bringing in the grammar and the reading and the writing when they've achieved a much more higher level of proficiency. It's fascinating. There are books about it, but it works. Thank you.
Trustee Coburn.
Just a comment, where was this when I was going through school?
Ladies, question? Sorry, Nikhil.
I just had a question on this. So I also plan, since I'm a senior, I plan to take the DELF, the B2. And I think the large majority of my classmates are also planning to take the B2. I was wondering, how are we structuring the preparation for the DELF exam for the students? Other than like the DELF corrective training, how are we standardizing the preparation within classrooms?
Excellent question, through you, Mr. Chair. Basically, we've developed a procedural memo that has gone out to all schools. So we've sent this to your principals, your department heads, and your grade 12 French teachers. And the idea is that everyone is receiving the same information, and that includes a slide deck with links to recommended resources. It also includes recommended websites. For example, there's one called destinationdelf.ca that you could visit as a grade 12 senior. And it will actually allow you to take practice tests and start to get feedback on maybe what areas you need to work on. So we're standardizing it from the sharing of resources and sharing of recommended websites, and then offering teachers the ability to clarify and seek some of that clarification from us. But also to share that slide deck with you if you want to go into a little bit more depth in your preparation. So reach out if you need help.
Ladies, do you have a question? Thank you very much for your presentation. Can I have a mover, please? Trustee Lukatuk-Byers and Trustee McEwen. That the memorandum from the Superintendent of Student Success dated February 18, 2025, update on French as a second language and FSL initiatives at OCSB be received. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. No new business. Notice of motions, none. Confirmation of the action report of February 11, 2025. Mover, please. Trustee Coburn. Trustee Moore. The action report covering the period of February 11th be received. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Administrative announcements, Mr. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to start by saying our Catholic community continues to offer prayers for Pope Francis during his time of ill health. I also want to mention that this seems to be birthday week. Within the 4-day period, we will be celebrating 3 birthdays of colleagues around the table. This Friday, we celebrate Father Peter. So happy birthday to Father Peter. This Sunday, Vice Chair Cindy Simpson. Happy birthday to our Vice Chair. And next Monday to Trustee Scott Phelan. And as you mentioned, Mr. Chair, in 2 weeks' time, there is March break, so there will be no board meeting during the March break. We'll gather again on March 25th at the end of March, and we'll also have an opportunity for budget input at that time from the public. That's the end of the announcements.
Thank you. Can I get a mover for adjournment, please? Trustee Coburn. Trustee Warren. At the regular board meeting of February 25th, 2025, be adjourned at 8:30 p.m. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, ladies.